LeBron had nothing to do with hiring the Lakers head coach. And I'm Frenchie Fuqua. This is RamView. Live from the studios of the Ram Cave in the home of the Camellias, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the June 21st, 2024 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And of course, by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. All right, I'm going to be at Granite Ridge next week. I'm going to be running CIT Academy, where we take our counselors in training and show them how the sausage is made. And so that's why my broadcast next week will be a little spotty. But until news breaks, it looks like between now and July 23rd, when Rams camp opens, unless there's a free agent signing somewhere, it looks like things will be a little slow. All right. Not a lot to talk about. But again, it's Ram stuff. So there is stuff to talk about. One of the questions that came up with some friends of mine that we're talking about it is that they say they aren't fans of the St. Louis era, right? And that they don't really care about the St. Louis era. And I said, the St. Louis era, you get Mike Jones, you get the greatest show on turf, you get Torrey Holt, you get Isaac Bruce coming into his own Hall of Fame career, you get Marshall Faulk, you get, you get all that stuff. You get real deep into it, you get London Fletcher. You get Steven Jackson. What about the St. Louis era do you not want to claim? And they just, it wasn't Ram football. This is the real Los Angeles Rams. Now I'm coming back. It's like, I don't know, man. I have no problem with the St. Louis era. I didn't want the Rams to go. And the St. Louis fans now hate, of course, Kroenke, the way we feel about Georgia, right? And so they got to share in some of that pain that we feel, but it doesn't mean I disown the team. I've said I tried to disown the team. I tried really hard to disown the team. I was big on the Redskins and the Chiefs, Give me the Hogs and give me Steve DeBerg at Arrowhead. I was big. Give me Montana and Marcus Allen at Arrowhead. Give me Steve Bono at Arrowhead. Give me Mark Rippon. Give me that group there, and I'm good. Let me sing Hail to the Redskins. I tried really hard, but you know what happened? Every time they lost a big game, I was over it like that. Just like that. I was over it. Player got moved, player got traded. I was over it. And I realized I wasn't going to shake the Rams. And the other reason I'm not giving up the Rams is that I spent a lot of good money on the NFL Sunday ticket from 2004 through 2016. I had it the first year they were back in LA. And I spent a lot of money so I could watch all those Ram games in St. Louis and record them. And so I suffered for that. I feel like I had to go through, that's my Pilgrim's Progress. I had to go through that journey to get to this point in Ram history. And I think I have a better appreciation than if I didn't. So I'm not out on the St. Louis era, not at all. St. Louis fans are welcome. I understand the anger and the frustration of losing your team. I think you suffered from what Ram fans did. I think at a certain point, Georgia and John Shaw and that group, they put the Rams on a course that was irredeemable, irrevocable, unreturnable from the point of no return, like the Kansas album. And it was inevitable they were coming back to LA. I can tell you, my guys, when we started Mid-Valley Sports, we were working for Mid-Valley News, but we created Mid-Valley Sports ourselves. But that group that we put together, 4 guys, 2 laptops, 1 floppy disk and dial-up connection in roughly 1998, I was by myself. 99, we built the team. We did that. You know why we did that? We did that so we would be ready for when the Rams came back to LA. That's how confident we were the Rams were going to come back to LA. And I went through a lot of years, a lot of pain, happy they won the Super Bowl. And then it seemed like, oh, they'll never come back now. But we forgot that Georgia and John Shaw, they were running the show, right? And it was inevitable that this was going to happen. And so this is what I felt like. St. Louis fans may not have known it, but they were where, after the Super Bowl, they were where Ram fans were after the NFC title game for the 89 season, is that everything just spiraled down after that until eventually they left in 95. And so I feel your pain. I'm sorry. I really am. And I'm not going to deny you. And the reason I bring it up is because I noticed there's some in some circles, Ram fans are not all in on Kurt Warner. And I'm curious to know what this group is. You can get it when we get to the questions and answer section on this hot Friday here in the Ram Cave. But I've noticed there's this turnaround on Kurt Warner. Now, Kurt Warner turns 53 tomorrow. Is it tomorrow or today? Let me check that out real quick here. I got it in my notes. And because it was a slow news day, I decided to move it up in the queue. Kurt Warner tomorrow, June 22nd, born in 1971. Kurt Warner turns 53 tomorrow. And I've heard people say that, I don't know if he's really a Ram. You know, he was in St. Louis, and I think that's crazy. Kurt Warner is a great NFL quarterback, Hall of Fame NFL quarterback. You know, he was the guy that put up all those monsters games in the Super Bowl. Yeah, you know, now maybe how the Rams got rid of him. Ultimately, you know, Martz chose Bulger over Kurt Warner. Because Warner couldn't stay healthy for a while there. And Bulger was a good quarterback. He was not Kurt Warner. I promise, guys, I saw a couple questions pop up there, and we will get to them. You know, was there some beef there where Kurt Warner was hurt by the Rams and he just kind of moved on? He was great with the Cardinals, and I'm just pro Kurt Warner. And I'd be curious to know if you guys had any issues in regards to Kurt Warner. Okay, other Rams stuff that came up. I got this. On June 29th, 2023, this free agent cornerback signed with the team. He played over 1,000 snaps last year, didn't miss a game, picked off 3 passes. Passer rating against him was 76.7. 76.7. He was roughly in on 50 tackles, had 10 pass breakups. Now, PFF graded him 69 out of 127. Now, again, you know, I look at PFF. In a lot of cases, it's like the second place I go to. The first place I go to is my eyes, and then I'll see what does PFF say. And sometimes your eyes will tell you a different story. But I saw this player play, and maybe he's not the 69th best corner, but I think he could have been the 62nd best corner, which means one of the starting corners on an NFL team. And as of right now, though, this cornerback is still a free agent. He still hasn't signed, and I'm wondering why he hasn't signed, and I'm wondering what he's doing, and I'm wondering what he's thinking he has to do, or is he asking for too much money? And his name, drum roll please, Ahkello Witherspoon. Ahkello Witherspoon acquitted himself really well last year with the Rams. He did a really good job breaking up passes. You know, was he Leroy Irving in his prime? No. Was he Todd Light in his prime? No. You know, I'm not even going to mention Rod Perry and Pat Thomas, okay? But Ahkello Witherspoon did a really, really nice job for the Rams last year. Now, I'm not saying the Rams need to re-sign him, but I'm just surprised that no other team has gone after him, considering you could get him for a cheaper price than, say, Stephon Gilmore. And I just thought that was interesting to bring that up there in regards to Ahkello Witherspoon, just something for us to think about. Around the NFL and other places, Ramondre Stevenson, Patriots running back, signed a 4-year, $36 million contract. He came into the league, 4th-round pick out of Oklahoma in 2021. Had a big year in 2022, got injured last year, 6 foot, 227, could catch the ball. That is a running back contract. To me, that's the elite running back contract for me. Patriots are paying him $9 million a year. The 49ers are paying McCaffrey $19 million a year. Now, I know McCaffrey's great, but McCaffrey hasn't won a Super Bowl. Let's see. McCaffrey's making 19 rocks. If he's going to be the highest paid running back in the NFL, I understand why he's the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Running back in the NFL. It's still too much for a running back, but I understand why. Alvin Kamara is making 15 rocks. Rams played Alvin Kamara last year. Did Alvin Kamara fill you with the fear of the Lord? This guy's been living off his past. There's something about this guy that's just not right. I've been out on Kamara for a few years. Rams face McCaffrey twice and Kamara once this coming year down in New Orleans. That place where they had Katrina and they really need a shot in the arm to recover. Also 14 rocks a year is Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. Rams don't face him this year. Is Jonathan Taylor put the fear of the Lord in you? Saquon Barkley, Rams face him this year. He's making 12 and a half rocks. He's a good back, but he never scared me. Josh Jacobs, now with Green Bay, is making 12 rocks a year. We play him. Rams play him this year. Joe Mixon is making 9.8 for the Bengals this year. And this is per year. I'm sorry. And then Stevenson, 9 rocks. I think the elite back market is set at 9 rocks. I just wouldn't pay anybody more than that. Here, the last time, and I'll take correction on this because my memory could be flaky. You guys can correct me. The last time a rushing leader, a person who led the NFL in rushing, won a Super Bowl, Terrell Davis, 1998. I believe that was his 2,000-yard season. There you go. Around the NFL and other places, I did make the joke. It got out there. I'm sorry. This is where the KBM comes in to write a story and say, this is what the Times produced, to say that LeBron was not in on the coaching hire. Right. And I'm Frenchy Fuqua, right? But can I just say this in regards to the Lakers? What do you expect? Now, this might not be true. I can't say 100% it's true, but what do we always say? Perception is truth, right? And the perception is JJ Redick will say, LeBron, what time do you want to have practice? LeBron, is this play good for you? LeBron, what do you want to do about the Bronny game? When do you want us to have the Bronny game? LeBron, can I fetch your slippers? Now, again, that might not be true, but boy, it sure looks that way, doesn't it? And don't try to sell me he was not involved in any of this. Oh, and he wasn't involved in Darvin Ham getting dismissed, Frank Vogel getting dismissed, Luke Walton getting dismissed, right? At some point, there's the common denominator, right? And again, Lakers are dying here. They're going to re-sign LeBron. They're not going to trade Davis, and they're going to stay middle of the road, right? They're going to stay middle of the road. And I'm happy to be wrong, and I promise, if I am wrong, I'll come on and I'll say I'm wrong. But as someone who doesn't bet, doesn't really know how to bet, I'm just asking the overs and unders. Is it March or April when JJ starts getting heat and LeBron and everyone starts submarining him, right? Because it generally happens. And I'm just wondering why LeBron doesn't become player coach. And I think it's so he can obfuscate himself from being responsible as being the coach. I'm sorry, I'm just not in. I'm not in on that Kool-Aid. Okay, last item here before we go to the commercial. The only way this makes sense is with Common Core math. And I just wanted to go up as an update because it all changes so fast. If I did this 25 years ago in a sports column when I started writing FanView, my column, it would have been like, Joe, that's really, stupid. I mean, everyone knows this, right? I mean, I'd be accused of pandering, being pedantic, all those things, talking down to you. But only with Common Core math does this work. The Big Ten, the winner of the Big Ten and Pac-10 rivalry, right? Pac-8 rivalry. But the Big Ten now features 18 teams, all right? 18 teams. And I'd be curious if you could tell me which schools do not sound like Big Ten teams. There's Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Penn State, USC, Iowa, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Michigan State, Northwestern, UCLA, Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois, and Indiana. That's the Big Ten, right? As we know it now, featuring 18 teams, right? Try being a new sports fan. It was like when I was a kid, and I was pretty good at geography when I was a kid, they would say, well, I'd say, okay, who's the NFC West? Oh, the NFC West is the Rams, 49ers, Atlanta Falcons, and New Orleans Saints. That's the NFC West, right? It was always hilarious, right? And that's what the Big Ten is. What's the Big Ten? Oh, yeah, it's all these schools that have 18 total. But when you look at this, does Rutgers feel like a Big Ten school? Maryland? I would even say you might want to carve. I know this is heresy, but you might want to carve out Illinois, Indiana, and Purdue. Northwestern, maybe. But then UCLA needs somebody to play. So it's just fascinating when you see that, how everything has changed. And as things are a bit slow and college football really hits at the end of August, I'm going to try every show to drop in a little college football stuff. All right, I'm Joe Terosian. I was a sports writer for 21 years, one of the founding guys at the Mid and Mid-Valley Sports with Tim and Dwayne. Those guys are still in the room. They cover the Chargers. They cover USC football. But I get to do RamView, thanks to our sponsors at Kistler Law. And I write books. My books are available on Amazon. Type in Joe Terosian. And I got some good news today. I'm just waiting to produce some author copies so I can get the ball rolling on my latest book, Game Day in the Ram Cave. It's not a Ram history. History's talked about. It's just a novel of guys watching the big game together and all the stuff that goes on while watching the game. I've written 2 other football novels, high school football novels that were received well, and my other stuff. And when you read my other stuff, you're going to say, oh, who is this guy? In my day job, I'm the pastor of a small church in Burbank called Burbank Faith Nazarene. And you can find us right here on YouTube at Burbank Faith Virtual, burbankfaithvirtual.com, and Burbank Faith Virtual across social media. And all right, so I think we got that all in. And let's run here and see who was with us on Friday, on a hot Friday day. Biozayo, greetings, dude. Thanks for clicking on. Love to have you here. Tim Burns. In the same week, Quentin Lake was the new leader in the secondary. Another story had him with 2 others playing him out of spot. Confusing thoughts. The new leader, yeah. Another story had him with 2 others playing him out of his spot. Yeah, is that the account of Yeast and Darian Kendrick? If that's what it is, Mr. Burns, let me know. I think that's just about. I don't know if they're ready for Cam Kitchens yet to start. That's the only thing that would make me think that is that Cam Kitchens might not be ready. I have no doubt Quentin Lake's going to be on the field. I don't think Kobe Durant's going to be the star. I think we saw that. It doesn't work. Darian Kendrick might be looking for more versatility. He's always been a boundary guy, it seems. He might be looking for more versatility and showing his value to the club. And then Russ Yeast. I like Russ Yeast. Russ Yeast is a gamer. 7th-round pick, double degrees at Kansas State. You love this guy. He's feisty. He's not going to last in the NFL long, but if the Rams can get 3 years, 4 years out of him before he moves on and he contributes, you get clicks out of him, I think that would be cool. But I do believe Quentin Lake will be a valuable part of the secondary no matter where they play him. USA expat was a huge Warner fan, but got turned off later. Brenda going public to complain about Martz. He became a card. Okay, I get it. Okay, good. So there is that little thing out there about that. And, it had to hurt. It had to hurt being cut loose from the Rams, right? And, okay, thank you. There you go. Good job. Tim Burns. Warner was elite, and had he not got pummeled out of St. Louis, 2 to 3 rings, in my opinion. Well, yeah, there were things that happened in that Super Bowl 36, and I'm not talking Spygate. I'm just talking about, man, there were some cheap calls that didn't get called, some stuff there, but okay, conspiracy side. Can I be conspiracy guy since we're on a Friday and we're not, you don't have a lot of folks with us, it's just us talking. Conspiracy side, how perfect in the 2001 season is it that the Patriots won the Super Bowl with everything that was going on in the world that day? Call me crazy, okay? Just call me crazy. I think if that game was played again, I think the Rams would have won that game. And Biozayo, I saw you just chimed in on that. It seemed like Warner lost his confidence in St. Louis. Something was happening there. He was getting hurt, a lot of finger injuries, thumb injuries. And Bolger played well because that was a great offense. He had great talent around him at that point when Bolger was there. And Martz made a move. And yeah, you can love Martz and hate Martz, but they made a move. And you know what? It didn't work for It didn't work last long for Kurt in New York because they had taken Eli Manning or traded for Eli Manning when Manning refused to go to San Diego. And so Kurt Warner, it did look like it was winding down for him, the fairy tale, but boy, he came back, had monster years. But just like when he's throwing to Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce, he goes to Phoenix, and he's got Larry Fitzgerald and the underrated Anquan Bolden. Remember how great Anquan Bolden was? And then their number 3, that Super Bowl season, I believe, was Breston. Steve Breston. I think he was a Michigan guy, and he had a really nice season. It might have been his only nice season of the year of his career. Steve Ramirez. Kurt Warner was great. Took 2 teams who had years of losing to the Super Bowl. Post-career, he's a great analyst of quarterbacks who would be a great quarterback coach. His YouTube podcast is a great view. I haven't checked that out, Steve. I am pro Warner. I might want to check that out. Thanks for the reminder. Tim Burns. Warner is kind of in his own bubble. The indoor league field size helped him fit throws into spots. Ooh, he did it with finesse and touch versus, say, Warren Moon rifling a pass through traffic at 100 miles an hour. Boom, Mr. Burns. So in 99, with the guys who would go on to work with me at MVS, one of the things we talked about, I remember specifically talking about, was how fast Warner made decisions. And we were talking about, by playing that arena football, you're required to make quick decisions. And, he just got that ball out, right? And if you remember, I'm trying to go back, and I'll take correction, but I just don't remember him having a lot of help in that backfield in terms of someone staying in the block, right? It seemed like they were always in scram. Another terminology, scram meant put everybody in the pattern, and he just made boom, boom, boom decisions. And he was just boom. He just made decision after decision after decision. And that was interesting. You brought that up, Mr. Burns. Tim Burns. I looked over Stafford's career in throwing to tight ends. He throws from mid-60 to 80 completions per year, 5 TDs since 2012. So how important is the deep tight end corp really? Pettigrew was his only high reception guy. As a Brandon Pettigrew guy, I saw him play in the Holiday Bowl. I stood next to him. That is kind of interesting. Again, to me, everything in Detroit for Stafford is almost a wash. It just, one, he had to learn to be an NFL quarterback. So he had his growing pains, but then he had growing pains with a dysfunctional unit, with a dysfunctional household, right? So you grow up, it's hard enough growing up and learning life, but then you got to learn NFL life with a dysfunctional franchise, right? The Rod Marinellis, the Matt Millens, who left him a legacy that he lived with for a few years there. They fired Caldwell a little early, just all those things. They had some light there with Schwartz, and it ended early. Didn't get it. I attribute, when I see a bad throw by Stafford now, I call it PTDS, post-traumatic Detroit syndrome. And there's just those things happen sometimes when he has them psi complex. I just counted up to PTDS, post-traumatic Detroit. And so, no, I don't know. I think we've seen him. He likes Tyler Higbee. And we'll be interesting to see, because everyone's in love with Colby Parkinson's. All right. Let's see. USA expat. I liked Martz, but unfortunately, when he was with the he was with the Niners, but it ended pretty fast with Martz, right? It did. It ended real fast with him, and maybe a little bit early for his time, a little bit. Okay, we'll get to more questions, guys. If you got them, throw them at me. That would be great. I understand we're kind of zipping along here, but I keep seeing these lists, like 10 players that are on the hot seat, 10 players the Rams are counting on, 5 players the Rams need to, and I thought, what players could the Rams lose where I wouldn't lose any sleep over, right? I thought 5 players the Rams could lose that I wouldn't lose any sleep over, all right? Then it's like, oh, he's gone? Okay. Yeah, he had a Tack McKinley experience. Okay, move along. Thanks for playing. We got some lovely parting gifts for you. The first one is Larrell Murchison. I think Murch is okay. I think he's a little nice little rotational piece. But if the Rams can't find a spot for him this year, thank you, Murch. And thanks for coming in. And I hope you can do business elsewhere. So I'm not going to lose any sleep over him. This one, I'm optimistic about this guy, but the Rams don't appear to be with the moves they've made. Zach Evans. I'm not going to be surprised if the Rams move on from Zach Evans. This guy bounced around in his college career, super talented, but I don't know. He might end up going somewhere and taking off, and then we'll see on all the Rams message boards, how did they let Zach Evans go? Fire Snead, fire McVay, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams let Zach Evans go. Hunter Long. Hunter Long's just snake bit, right? Hunter Long is just snake bit. There was talk that Colby Parkinson was somebody the Rams were looking at, and the Seahawks drafted him before they can get to him. And Hunter Long was somebody that was on the Rams board, but the Dolphins got to him first. This guy's got like one catch in his NFL career, 2 targets or something. And then he's injury prone. And if he came and went, he comes and goes, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And we'll just move on. Life will go on, right? He'll be the Kareem Orr. He'll just, Kareem Orr? Who's here? He's gone. Another name that I've always wanted to give him a chance, but you can't fault a guy who blows out his knee as bad as Logan Bruss did in August of 2022. And then, didn't play down last year and didn't look good. Moved from guard back to tackle, and he is a Wisconsin guy, so you got to give him some hope there. But the Rams have drafted heavy, right? Warren McClendon. They've drafted KT Levinson, right? They still got AJ Akuri. They haven't moved off AJ Akuri. And to me, just all the things you look at, you just look at it, and it just doesn't look good for Logan Bruss. And I'm not going to lose any sleep, and we're going to move on. I don't know with him. I really don't know. Maybe he becomes a great surprise somewhere, but I think he was having trouble adjusting initially and then missed that whole rookie year. And then he had the horrible knee injury. It's like, okay, I get it, right? Okay, and then my 5th player is either Ochaun Mathis or Nick Hampton. And if the Rams moved on from either of these guys, I wouldn't be surprised. There were some moments last year where I thought Mathis looked really fast and then he disappeared. I thought there were times Nick Hampton looked overwhelmed, but McVay has dropped Nick Hampton's name, and when McVay drops a name, that means that guy's in good stead. But you got Hoyt, you got Young, they drafted Verse, and they drafted Brennan Carnage Jackson as one of our guys who likes to mention him as, and so that to me tells me one of those guys is going to go, Ochaun Mathis or Nick Hampton. Mathis was at TCU to Nebraska, and Nick Hampton was App State. And one of those guys is going to go, and I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, right? I'm just not going to lose any sleep. So how's that for great insight on a slow Friday afternoon? All right, let's move on. Let's look at this date in Ram history. And it was a stone groove. Well, I don't know if it was a stone groove, but it is some info for today. Hey, on this day in 1971, the Rams signed their 17th round pick. The dude's name was Randy Vataha. Anyone remember Randy Vataha? Stanford guy? I'm thinking Steve Ramirez remembers Randy Vataha. 17th round pick. Ended up having 3 or 4 highly productive seasons in the NFL, catching passes from his college quarterback, Jim Plunkett. I later went into management and everything, but he was a 17th round pick of the Rams, 17th round, and made it in the NFL. That's pretty good. Also, on this day in 2023, 1 year ago, the Rams waived wide receiver Sam Jones. Now, Sam Jones was an undrafted free agent. And the only reason I bring up Sam Jones was the first highlight, and I think I brought this up about 2 months ago, the first highlight you see of Stetson Bennett in a Ram uniform is he's throwing this long bomb, and it's caught by this receiver, and everyone was all going, oh, yeah, Bennett. Everyone was all up on Bennett at that time. And I thought, like, who's that receiver? And it turned out it was Sam Jones. And I thought, I wonder what Sam Jones is going to be like. Well, 2 months later, a month later, Sam Jones was released. I just wanted to mention that. Tomorrow, June 22nd, Kurt Warner turns 53. It is the birthday of Rams running back Skeets Quinlan, who was around in the 50s. And he was a Texas guy at TCU, ended up at San Diego State, played for the Rams, had a nice little career there for the Rams. And then Turning 25 tomorrow. Can you believe that? Only turning 25 is Cam Akers, the former Ram, with huge injury issues. Was it another torn Achilles that put him out last year with Minnesota? And yeah, he's only 25, and it feels like he was around forever. June 23rd, since I'm not on the air, it's Sunday. That is OJ Atagwe's birthday. He turns 43. Rams got some really good years out of Atagwe, and then he went to Washington and he was done. It was disappointing when he left the Rams, but when you saw what he produced after he left, it was like, okay, Atagwe, another St. Louis guy. And then another guy that's still hanging around the NFL, he turns 34 tomorrow, Rodney McLeod, safety. He had some good years with the Rams. Of course, they didn't re-sign him because he was a safety. Ended up in Philly, got a ring in Philly, and has been bouncing around the league. I think he's with Cleveland now, but he's about coming to an end. But Rodney McLeod did a nice job for the Rams. And also on June 23rd, 1971, the Rams traded future Hall of Famer right tackle Bob Brown, we talked about him the other day, to the Oakland Raiders, along with some draft picks. One of those draft picks turned into Raider offensive lineman John Vella, to the Oakland Raiders for Harry Shue, and another guy, throwaway named Kent McLaughlin. And Harry Shue was along that Rams offensive line, 1971 and 72. There we go. I think we pumped it out, and I think I got in all my notes today. Let's see here. Let's go. Biozile, remember one game Martz threw 26 straight passes to start the game before he called a running play. Wow. No, I don't know which one that was, but I do believe you. There you go. Let's see. G's Nuts. Hey, nice to hear from you, G's Nuts. Let's see. What's up, Joe? Read an article that our running back room is mediocre at best. Any thoughts? I think Kyron proved to be a force last year, like Corum and Boston pickup. I like for returning kicks. Absolutely. You know what? That is that's absolutely stupid to say it's mediocre at best. I mean, what makes a good room, right? Isaiah Pacheco has not led the league in rushing, and the Chiefs, with that 7th round pick, have won 2 Super Bowls, right? Again, how do you estimate it? Why did they have to pay 10 rocks to a running back? I kind of agree with you, G's Nuts. I think it's ridiculous. I think based on where we draft running backs now, the Rams made a heavy investment in 3rd round with a running back in Blake Corum. Kyron Williams was massively productive last year. You're bringing in an established veteran in Boston Scott. And then most teams, do they have a guy like Ronnie Rivers? Who, I know, a 4th guy, but Ronnie Rivers is an NFL player, right? He's not just a practice squad guy. He's an NFL player. He's not going to be great. Anyone ever see Hot Rod Phillips play for the Rams back in the 70s? Rod Phillips was like the 6th back, right? You got Scribner, Bryant, McCutcheon, Bertelson, and down there at the end of the line, you had Hot Rod Phillips. And Rod Phillips, for a few years there, is kind of productive in mop up and garbage time and stuff. I like Ronnie Rivers. So mediocre, what does mediocre mean? And again, I think some articles, some of the KBM, they're just desperate for takes, desperate for attention. So they come up with these things. And, again, Vegas had the Rams winning 4.5 last year. They won 10. Vegas has the Rams winning 8.5 this year. Again, one of the things that you have to do is with your own eyes. What do you see with your own eyes? And don't discount what you see with your own eyes. And don't let anyone come back and tell you the whole, well, like, more than the coaches and the scouts. It's like, yeah, it's like you watch the game too. Now, maybe you don't know little details that the scouts and everybody know, but according to the media, again, my impression is that, it's 60-40 in the media in terms of who does work and who just is along for the ride. So, I tend to think mediocre is kind of a weak tag. It's just lazy to say the Rams running back room is mediocre. Steve Ramirez, who, of course, you would know this, Steve. Vataha got the winning touchdown in the 1971 Rose Bowl. There you go. I'm guessing that was from, Jim Plunkett, right? And it was the Stanford Indian, right? There you go. Was Vataha Plunkett's J.K. McKay to Pat Hayden, right? Now, Pat Hayden wasn't Jim Plunkett, but there was there was a run on those receivers in the 70s that, in those college games that they were just good route running guys. You know, the Vatajas, the J.K. McKays, maybe a Brian Bashnagel at Ohio State. Anyway, I'm riffing there. All right, we've gone 34 minutes. I don't have anything left. I've gone through all my stuff because it is slow. It's a slow period. But if anyone has any questions, you can throw them my way. Let me look at my notes, see if I left anything out. Yeah, I think I hit everything I wanted to hit on. Do I really want to hear me talk about Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese? I seen Angel Reese play. I see Caitlin Clark play. I see Caitlin Clark. I'd never seen a female player play like that outside of Cheryl Miller. I see Angel Reese, and I see a lot of female players I've seen play like that. And plus, I don't like the way she pads her stats. Get a rebound, miss the follow-up, get the rebound, miss the follow-up, get the rebound, then score, right? She pads her stats a little bit. She looks very ordinary. She doesn't seem extraordinary to me. Let's see. Tim Burns, LeBron sucks. Okay. But do you think, I came out shooting off against that Times article, LeBron and Nike sucks. Do you guys really believe LeBron had nothing to do with a hiring of JJ Redick, the guy he does a podcast with? I mean, please. It's like, yes, I'm stupid. It's like nothing to see here. Tim Burns, Cameron Brink is Steph Curry's daughter. She's good. And she is out. Was that just an ACL, or was that ACL MCL that she blew the other day? That was a nasty spill she took. I'm kind of curious. I wonder if her beauty privilege helped her there. That's terrible. Shouldn't have said that. But yeah, there we go. All right, guys, did you have anything else there? Yeah, I know. Yeah, Tim Burns, she is done for the year. She is done for the year. And again, we're on RamView, and I know we're riffing here, just trying to get to that 40-minute mark. But who would have thought we'd be talking WNBA? Is that because of Angel Reese, or is that because of Caitlin Clark? Ooh, question came in. Do I answer this? Joe, what are your thoughts on Pride? Because it's Pride Month, right? Is that what I'm asking? I don't know if it was from one of you guys. I don't think you have to ask me what I think about the whole Pride Month thing and teams doing that. I think most of you guys might know my feelings. I think asking players and everyone to abide by that that's more hypocritical than that's along those lines of, if you're going to come after Colin Kaepernick for kneeling and saying, hey, he's on the job. I don't think teams should require players, if it goes against their thoughts, to have to wear special gear and stuff, of the rainbow and everything. I think, you know what? I didn't sign a contract to advocate for your social view. I signed a contract to play football, baseball, or basketball. But yeah, so I think I answered that question there. And then one question that came up earlier, someone was asking me about CTE. And I'm going to answer it a little bit like I answered COVID. COVID was a thing. I'm not going to deny there ever was COVID. But was COVID manipulated into something political to cause a lot of chaos? Yes, I do believe that. Is CTE a thing? I'm not going to say it's not a thing, but if you look around a little bit hard enough, you'll find some articles that talks about, there is some question like who's paying for the studies, right? Who's producing some of that? And they talk about the older players. And I will say this, used to say, get your bell rung, just get back in there and stuff. Yeah, there's definitely issues there. But also we know the care of the players. These players did drugs. They did heavy drugs. They drank excessively. They partied hard. They lived hard. Now, I didn't know a football player who played 10 years in the league back in the 70s going forward. But you live that kind of hard life. I've just seen people who've lived hard lives. People I went to school with. I mean, you think I look old? People I went to school with, some of them look like they went like 10 miles down the Kabul road there, the Kabul highway in Afghanistan, where they just got all beaten up. And I said, man, what happened to this dude? Someone just said, boom, boom, boom. And you know what? At a certain point, you got to stop. But those players were dealing with a lot of pain, a lot of stuff. And I think when you get to the whole CT, I think there's a whole myriad of things. And I don't think it's a blanket to where you could just say, oh, that's all just CTE. That's all just CTE. And so I know that might be controversial, but I don't mean to be controversial. I'm just answering the question. So there we go. Tim Burns, it's weird to introduce oneself and base your existence by who they like to have sex with. So odd. Yeah, again, I don't want to turn this show into church meeting, Tim. You know me. But again, I think there's a right reason why people said, hey, you know what, Kaepernick, this isn't the place to do what you did. Sorry, it's not here. Not in uniform, not when working for my organization. But then the organization now will come back and tell these teams and players they have to do this. And it's like, no, I'm not doing it. I just wouldn't do it. I didn't sign that contract. And I'd be curious to see someday a player pushes back and says, I'm not doing it. That's not what I was in agreement for. So there you go. USA expat, party hard equal. I could drop big names of players bombed on Wednesday night during season. Laugh out loud. Yeah, they and I'm not saying they were alcoholics, terrible alcoholics, but these guys had a lot of pain. They had a lot of stuff. But to throw everything under CTE, I think is just a little too easy. And I think it fits a narrative that people are trying to make about football. And I just think you got to be careful with it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but you got to be careful with it. It's the same thing with medical marijuana. I'm all for medical marijuana. My wife's a nurse, and she says anything that eases somebody's pain in her profession is a great thing. But I've been down 16th Street in Denver. That's a beautiful area, completely destroyed by marijuana, right? And folks out there just chugging away. And we know it gets abused. It's absolutely abused. And that part I am against and stuff. And so, you just got to look at these things and say, you know what, there's some truth to it, but it's always abused. There's always somebody looking for an angle. And I'm always suspicious of politicians that are always open to, hey, let's get everybody drugged up. To me, you drug your populace, then they're not thinking, and I'm sorry, I will say 98% of all of our politicians are corrupt. And there you go. There's my political answer for the day. But when it comes to the pride thing, when it comes to all these other things, I just think you got to sit back, CTE, you got to sit back and say, okay, who's benefiting, who's doing these things and everything. And this is the most I'm going to talk about this stuff, but they were questions that kind of came up. Let's see here. USA expat had 2 actually designated drive to Pro Bowls. Oh man, you got to send me that off the air, Mr. USA expat. That's funny. Trucker G, how do you feel about the Rams season ticket holders selling tickets to opposing teams? Trucker, hey, I don't know who you are, but thanks for clicking on. That's the price you pay for leaving for 20 years, right? That's the price you pay for leaving 20 years. This is one thing, I'm going to throw pride, CTE, marijuana, all that stuff. I'm going to throw it to the side there. The one thing I am passionate about, and I will say this because I was there when I was a kid, I saw it my whole life. Ram fans are some of the worst fans in the NFL. I don't think people on RamView are that bad, but we know what people do. They jump ship so quick. This is LA, right? This is what they do. The elite come to the games to be seen at Laker games. When the Clippers start winning, they come to the Clipper games. They love to be seen. And then if the team sucks, then they're not there anymore, right? And so these Ram fans, I don't think SoFi was built for you and me. I think SoFi is an amazing stadium. I've been there. I was there for a Harbaugh's press conference. I went there to help some friends out. I was at the press conference for Harbaugh, and I got to see the stadium. Oh my gosh, what an amazing stadium! But unless I'm credentialed to go back, I'm a little spoiled. I'm not going to pay that money to go to the stadium, be around people getting in fights and everything. I'm just not going to do it. And the prices that people are paying, and so and I sound like I'm complaining about rich people, but they buy the tickets and they sell. They're not really fans. They're not really fans. And I think at a certain point that worm's going to turn with this organization now, the way it's run. And I think maybe in 5 years that won't happen, but they do. I have no doubt. I got a friend who is a Cincinnati Bengal fan. He was a Cincinnati Bengal fan here in LA. Now he lives in Houston. and he buys season seats every year. And he goes to about 3 or 4 games, but he sells the rest and it pays for his season seats. I don't know how Bengal fans feel about it, but the one advantage of the Rams being, people rooting more for the Steelers and the 49ers in the Rams' own stadium, the only thing that makes them ready for the road, right? It makes them ready to go to a hostile place. It's like, the noise, it's loud here in Detroit. You kidding me? They're loud for the 49ers back in SoFi, right? So, that's a good question, though. But I think at a certain point, it will. I think it will change. But yeah, that's just the price of being gone for 20 years, and depending on LA people. And again, we're all transplants, right? Most people are transplants. And if you transplant, you got a good job to come here, because you ain't going to come here with a bad job. So, whew. Tim Burns, it's cool to cross over, Joe. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I just don't want to get preachy here. I don't want to get soapboxy here, unless it's an issue like Ram fans, or the ugly jerseys that the Rams wear, just the building the brand. Rick Mayer, okay, question rejected. Tim Burns, I have a Lakers tat, and I can say the Sacramento King fans are far more loyal. Sold out while I was in that place year after year. Amazing. You have to be good to play to full crowds in LA. I had a brother that lived in Sacramento, and I saw the Pacers and Kings play in the Arco Arena. At least that's what it was called then. That was the place they played. And you're right. In those places, they are diehard for their team. Absolutely diehard, because it's kind of like all they've got, Laker fans, I felt better with Laker fans in the 70s because I was there. That's when tickets were cheaper, right, to go to a Laker game. And hey, I'll give credit for this. We talk about our elites and all that. Jack Nicholson was there. Sometimes he was the biggest star on the court, right, sitting in his seats, and people would cheer when you'd see Nicholson walk in and out. And he'd wave at people and he'd leave and stuff. I went to Magic's during the Showtime era. I went a few times, but not near as much as I went as a kid in the 70s. And again, when you see Arsenio Hall there, it's like, are you really a Laker fan, man? Can you rattle off the lineup from the 71, 72 Lakers? I'm a jerk like that, right? Are you a Ram fan, right? You're old as me. Can you name the 73 starting lineup, right? Can you progressively go through every Ram starting quarterback going back to Bob Waterfield in 1945? Can you do that? Prove to me you're a Ram fan. And we know, let's go to the sports bar, let's buy the jersey, let's yell and scream and everything. And that's what the KBM caters to. So I don't know. Now you're getting me on the soapbox there, Mr. Burns. Rick Mayer, maybe after 2 more Super Bowl wins. You're right. That's exactly what needs to happen. That's exactly what needs to happen. A couple more Super Bowl wins, ingrain it. So these kids growing up are seeing their home team go to the Super Bowl. Hey, I got kids I covered when I was covering high school football. Their favorite teams were the 49ers, the Packers, everyone else, because the Rams were gone. They didn't grow up seeing Rams play. Now, 9 years in and time goes on, you 2 Super Bowl appearances, you pick off another Super Bowl or 2 in these next 3 years. I think it will change. I think you're right, Mr. Mayor. Tim Burns, cowbells were a bit much in Sacramento. I don't remember the cowbells. I just remember my dad living in Carson City and me driving from Sacramento back to Carson City that night, and there was black ice on the road. And I think I drove through a place called Strawberry, population, -5 or 5 people or something. I thought I was going to see Hills Have Eyes. JD Durham, yep. I hope I'm right. I hope we're in agreement there. JD, thank you for clicking on. I don't think I've seen you before. Tim Burns, thank you so much for a great show. Guys, I do appreciate you guys hanging around with me. We did get pretty much the 50-minute mark. Just a reminder, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5 o'clock, we're on the air, except this coming week, I'm working kids camp, CIT Academy. We're training kids. And so I be a little spotty next week. I don't know if I can get on 3 times. I hope I can get on once, but I'll be on my laptop. I won't be in the Ram Cave, and we'll go from there. All right. Yes, we were lucky. Absolutely. Well, we grew up with the Rams were Super Bowl contenders, and yeah, we were. Our hearts were broken. We got those proverbial scars all around us. There's a Bobby Bryant scar here. There's a Steve Priest scar here. There's a Eddie Brown scar there, So, all right, USA Expat, God bless. Thank you so much. You have a great weekend too, guys. Be safe. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the encouragement. Go Rams, and the book is coming. God bless.